Good morning. This is Tampa Home Talk, and I'm your host, Katrina Madewell. And I'm joined by Mr. Leo Kane. Welcome back.
Yeah, it's exciting to be back.
We missed you.
I missed last week as well. I almost thought about calling in.
Oh, you should have. It would have been fun.
I couldn't find a phone.
Did you have fun?
I had fun.
What'd you do?
I established a satellite office for barrel engineering and inspection overseas.
How amazing is that?
Mm-hmm.
So are you going to be doing any inspections over there, or is it going to be like an admin type office?
No, we're going to be doing inspections because sometimes, especially when you have Americans and Canadians investing in a Caribbean country, they want to make sure that their construction's actually happening and happening correctly. So we'll be offering periodic inspections down in the country of Belize.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So where are you expanding to next?
Right, I just expanded. You're already talking.
But I mean, you're already international. Most people, don't they expand throughout the United States first and then go there?
Well, it was actually
the next will be the moon.
The moon, yeah. It was actually easier to expand into the Caribbean, and now that I'm in the Caribbean, I can go to any of the other neighboring islands as well.
So tell me more about that.
Well, once you're established as an entity in a Caribbean nation, it's kind of like the EU in a way, where countries can trade and do stuff between each other with less restrictions. I know someone political major out there is that's not how the EU works, but anyway, that's how I think it works. The Caribbean set up similarly, where if you're established in one country, you can piggyback that onto others. Kind of like in the state of Florida, if you have a contract with one government, like a Hillsborough County or a city of Tampa.
A little easier to get in with the others, right?
You can use that same contract to actually work with any of the others. So we can use our city of Tampa contract to work with Pasco County, which is what we've done in the past.
That's awesome. So today's topic is all about 10 reasons to list with a realtor just like me. So I know that you've probably bought stuff with and without agents, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, but 50% of the transactions that happen in real estate are cash deals and don't involve realtors or other. They're just behind the scenes. They're phantom transactions. But if you're a normal person,
which I can't wait to talk about.
I know, but if you're a normal person, you definitely want to list with a realtor.
Well, this is some of the things we're going to talk about is, and this show is all about really getting sellers more for their money, right? When they sell, it's all about giving them a bigger return on most people's largest investment.
Yeah, I mean, other than a 401k, your house.
Other than a 401k.
A properly set up 401k.
Right. But there's so many people that we see that sometimes their home is even worth more than their 401k, right? So it takes a lot of planning and preparation, long time in the stock market. You got to be in it to win it. No ebbs and flows. Don't pull the money out, which a lot of diligent people do. Some people don't.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked with financial planners before that occasionally you'll have a dip in the market. But if you pull out during the dip, you'll miss that increased gain.
Yes.
So unless you can predict when the dip's going to happen, you just have to stick in.
It's like stocks, right? They go up and down, and you want to buy when it's low, not sell when it's low.
Right.
So, all right. So the first and foremost reason we're going to go over is, of course, we have access to buyers, right? As you might imagine, we have access to buyers.
Really?
So, well, we have the majority of the buyer pool, right? So think about it.
I know that was just a sarcastic really.
I know, but let's think about it from buyer's perspective for a minute, okay? And there's 4 different types of buyers. Want to take a guess who they are?
Yeah, there's the sales.
You are not awake this morning.
I did 4 different types of buyers.
I need to get you some coffee.
Cash buyers, financer buyers. Am I even the right hemisphere there?
You're close.
Okay, so
one of them, of course, is investors, right?
Oh, yeah.
So the investors really want the lowest possible price they can get, which of course makes sense. They wouldn't want somebody like me to be in the transaction because they're trying to get a deal, right? And that's why some of these companies like Open Door have become profitable, at least for now. That'll shift, and I predict they're going to go away when the market balances out a little bit more. But their model is to buy it low, fix it up, lipstick on a pig-ish, and resell it high. What people don't know is the fees involved with that are anywhere from 9 to 12%. The back-end fees that they charge on top of getting it for a lower price. So if something like that appeals to you and you don't want the stress or what goes into getting your home ready, having showings, vacate for those showings, experience shows you're still better off calling somebody like me. We'll go through our cash investor list and let them all have the opportunity to bid on your home. Then you can pick the one that works for you as opposed to getting an offer that's probably even lower than what they would give you. And you're going to pay like 12% in fees on top of that.
Doesn't sound like a good deal.
So it's not, but we've looked at the numbers, we've compared it side by side, and it's just, you don't know what you don't know. And we read contracts for a living. That's a big part of our job. That's what goes into it. But the 4 different types of buyers are the buyers that are serious and in a hurry. So think about this. So you get, people that are relocation clients. We've had a ton of these lately. They're in from another area. They've got 1 or 2 days to find a home. We've got one coming in Saturday. They've been planning and preparing to come in for months now. And so they've already identified, pretty much which homes they're going to see. There'll probably be some new ones that come up. Many times we have off-market properties that have not yet hit the market. So we're privy to that information. And so they've got a day or two to make a decision on what home they're going to go under contract to buy. So that's one type of buyer. They're serious in a hurry. You've got another type of buyer that is serious and not in a hurry, right? So they're looking for a little bit of a deal. They might be looking for the perfect home. They're really going to take their time to make a good decision. Many times first-time home buyers will fit into this category. And if they're serious, not in a hurry, these first-time home buyers don't know what to expect. So they're very cautious with how they will proceed. So they also want to work with an agent like me because they don't pay for our services, right? The way it works is when you hire an agent like me to sell your home, you're going to hire me for a fee, and I'm going to agree to share that fee with other agents that will bring a buyer that can sell your home. And so the advantage of that is, we're representing you, they're representing the buyer, and you get a little bit of that unbiased feedback. And so, those buyers that are serious, not in a hurry, they're not going to want to go on that at their own. Most of the time, they are going to work with somebody like me to lead them, guide them, protect them through the process. And why wouldn't they? It doesn't cost them anything, right? And then, of course, the investors we already talked about. Those guys, usually they want, I hate to say steal your house, but some of them do. There's some out there that are not quite so cutthroat. They're just like, if the deal works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. We wish you well. We'll give you resources, tips, and tools, all that stuff. And then the last type of person that could come through your home would be the looky-loos. So think about that. How many neighbors just peruse through an open house when we do it? I would say most of the time, it's 25% of the people that come through or more. And, we encourage it. We encourage neighbors to come have a look at the home. Sometimes they're going to give you amazing feedback that you can use to prep and plan and prepare, to really launch that listing to its fullest. And, there'll be times that we come in and I'll see like an orange wall and I'll say, you really, really, really should paint that wall. I know it's an accent color. We've got to go in and re-neutralize the space, which we'll talk about some of that in our next hour, how to plan and prepare when you sell. But, and it comes through in the photography, but when you get that feedback from neighbors and buyers and other agents that come through the property, that's when we see a big shift. Sellers will finally say, all right, I guess I need to paint the wall.
Okay, so I got the investors, the first-time home buyers, the looky-loos, and...
buyers that are serious in a hurry and buyers that are serious not in a hurry.
Okay.
So those are pretty much the 4 different types of buyers. And then, of course, the second thing to know is market expertise, right? Like somebody like me, we sell a lot of homes in a very big area. So we're very well versed in the area. We have access to a lot of data that's on and off market. And some of the people love the data. Some people not so much. They just want to know what's a fair price to pay for this home. And it's interesting. Yesterday, we had an appraisal come back. It was on one of the ones that you guys did the inspection on. And the appraisal came back. We were under contract for $328,900 to buy this house. Came in at $325,000.
Oh, that's close.
It's just ridiculous, though, really. Like when you know how appraisals work and how they adjust for stuff. And here's the kicker, and I think you'll like this. So the pool at some point in the future is going to need to be resurfaced, right? Or remarcited or whatever they decide to retexture or recoat it with. The appraiser made an adjustment of $5,000 on it.
In the negative or the positive? Negative.
He took away $5,000 from the comps and the valuation, because that's how it works, right? They don't adjust for the subject property. They only adjust the comparables. So they took away $5,000 as a line item credit for a remar site.
Doesn't this all go back to when we have appraisers on here and they say pools really don't add value to your home?
My point exactly. You're not even an agent. And so that's what I told. I mean, they're going to add value. But that's what I told my customer. You could spend 25 or 30 grand to put this pool in, and they might give you a $10,000 adjustment.
Or a minus $5,000
Yeah.
adjustment.
So there's a takeaway in this appraisal, and I warned my buyer about it, and I was right. And I'll tell you what that takeaway was when we come back right after this break here on Tampa Home Talk. And we'll get into the other 7 things that you need to know that are important reasons to list with a realtor like me. This is Tampa Home Talk. Our off-air number is 813-377-2775, 813-377-2775.
Welcome back. You're listening to Tampa Home Talk. I'm your co-host, Leo Kane from Barrel Engineering and Inspection. I'm here with Katrina.
That's me. We're glad you're here. Thanks for listening and thanks for sticking around.
Yeah, and we're going through the 10 reasons to list with Katrina, it sounds like.
Katrina or a realtor like me.
Yeah, like the ones you have here. How many do you have with you?
So we only have 3 agents. The rest is support staff. So we're kind of small and mighty.
Okay,
Isn't
so
that fun?
So list with you or your other 3 agents in the house. I
Yes.
like this list. I mean, we talk about access to the buyers. We talked about marketing expertise. But sometimes you just got to get moving with the sales. What's number 3?
Before we jump into 3, remember
yeah,
the break?
Yeah, after the break.
I said,
that's a lifetime ago.
That's usually me. I usually am the one that forgets that. And
Yeah.
you remind me. But the appraiser. So here's the point that I was going with this. So this particular buyer came from Dave Ramsey and his team. So I'm referred as an endorsed local provider. And they used a company that he endorses. And unfortunately, I'm not a big fan of outside lenders, like lenders outside of the area. And the reason why is the local lenders like ours, like Sarah Cricky at the mortgage firm, their appraisers are hand selected. And they really are some of the best appraisers. They're very well versed. They've done a ton of appraisals. Most of them have done it for years, for many, many, many years. So they're super uber familiar with neighborhoods and, what's a good adjustment, what's not. Hence a $5,000 adjustment for a pool resurface. I mean, there's probably a pool resurface company listening saying, okay, it might cost that, right?
And there's others saying it's double that.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, depending on what you're doing, for sure. But the point is, like, if you put a $25,000 or $30,000 pool in there, you might get a $10,000 adjustment. So that's why it doesn't make sense. But I warned the buyer. I said, a lot of times they're going to have people through an appraisal management company that, the key to it is when they went through the national relicensing, the only thing is the lender, like the broker, the lender, the loan officer, they can't directly pick the appraiser. They can't. But what they can do is hand pick a group of appraisers that do amazing work that have been around for a long time. Then they go on a rotation. So you still don't get to pick the appraiser, but you have more control over the quality of the appraiser that you get that shows up versus just going through what we call an AMC or an appraisal management company. And then they basically just send whoever. I find these appraisers, they do it for half the fee that the other appraisers get. So again, it's quality. You pay for what you get. The appraisers that we know are busy. They're busy doing a lot of work. So why would they go work for a company that's going to pay half versus one that's going to pay them, the full fee that they're worth? Because it's a lot of work that goes into that. Sellers see an appraiser that goes out there and they might only be in the home for 15 minutes or so. And that's why we have a lot of preparation and planning. We don't even let an appraiser in our house without giving them a list of upgrades that that our homeowner has done, and make sure that they know about the special features and benefits the home has, as well as the comparable market sales that we've used to price the property. So this was my buyer. The listing agent, I think he met the appraiser and to let him in, but I'm almost sure there was nothing given to the appraiser in terms of value. And then he made a comment that he listed it for like a discount broker model. And so my point is, you pay for what you get, right? So you can have a discount broker that will just throw it in the MLS and then bring an agent like me to sell it. And sure, it'll save you a few bucks. But in the end, now we've got an appraisal that's almost $4,000 light. And really, it could have been avoided because the market value really was there. I mean, I went back in and looked at active sales and said, okay, how do these compare? How do these stack up? And if the buyer had to go buy a different home, what would that look like? And the next one in the same neighborhood was almost $360,000.
But if you're representing the buyer and the appraisal comes in a little light, that works in your favor, though.
If they reduce,
Yeah.
if they don't, then we're either going back to the drawing board or they're bringing the difference.
I figure to reduce, reuse, recycle here because the seller, if you lose this buyer, you lose the next one.
That's the first thing we do is we go for the juggler and say, great, we want a $4,000 price reduction.
Yeah, but most buyers aren't going to know that. So is some kind of negotiation skill on the list?
Negotiation skills absolutely on the list, and that's number 3, right? Sales skills. And one of the things about me, or that's 4, I guess I'm jumping ahead, right? They kind of go hand in hand. But I've got, for example, my certified negotiation expert. And so I talk about this all the time. It's what they call the C&E designation. Okay. So it's where it's like more advanced training sales skills for negotiations. And this is some of the problems that for sale by owners have is they really don't have the advanced negotiation skills that an agent like me would have. Sure, they can sell their home on their own, but the difference in price that they get even after our professional fee is still going to be more than they would net on their own.
Wait, with this certificate, can you talk people off of a ledge that are getting ready to jump?
We don't do that kind of negotiations.
Oh, we don't?
We leave that for the law enforcement.
What about trying to talk down a bank robber from...
No, we don't do that either, silly boy.
What's the point of this? This certification sounds a lot more grand than...
It's specifically a real estate designation.
Oh.
So, But here's the thing. A lot of times when we go into a property, right, this is where sales skills really come into play. We will talk about what are some of the things that you can do to give you the most return on investment, right? Like what's going to maximize your return on investment. So I've got one right now. I've worked with this guy several times, probably 5 different transactions, and he's getting relocated to Louisiana. And so the kitchen was the same as when they bought it, but everything else has been updated. So there's certain things you can do. Like we don't have to rip out the whole kitchen and replace it, but there's things you can do to make it look much, much better that are going to have a bigger impact. So one of the things we're doing, for example, in his kitchen is we're replacing all of the doors from those flat Formica doors to like white raised panel because the kitchen's already white. So we're going to stay with the same color. And then we're saying, okay, put in a contrasting color. So a darker granite. So either go dark or brown or something like that. Don't do like a white or a light color. So do that contrasting color. So he's replacing all the tops with granite or quartz. And then he's changing the kitchen doors out for raised panel. So this entire kitchen is going to look brand new. It's going to be a fraction of the cost. And he will get every bit of what he's asking for compared to some of the other homes. And the fact is, we're moving into a shifting or a cooling market. It's been happening for a while. And a lot of people say, oh, we're moving from a seller's market to a buyer's market. Well, there's this thing called a balanced market in between that people don't talk about enough. And that's where we are. We're shifting very quickly into this balanced market. And so, what that means for sellers is buyers are going to pick the very best home they can find for the price. And if the kitchen's already redone and everything's already redone and it's beautiful, they're probably going to spend a few dollars more to pick that home that's already been completely finished out. Make sense?
It does. So remodeling skills is on the list?
Well, sales skills was 3, and then 4 is negotiation skills. We went into that. But it's really just about bargaining, expertise, knowing what makes sense, not letting a buyer overpay for a home when we make an offer. Think about that, right? And this is some of the things we talk about in our consultation, which, by the way, if you want to get more information as a buyer or seller, you can get us at our off-air number at 813-377-2775, 813-377-2775, and you can call or text that number. Just text sell or buy to 813-377-2775. But one of the things we talk about, especially to the buyers, is the timeline of a real estate transaction. What can you expect from the time you hire me to the time you close, you get your keys and beyond? And so we go through all of those details. And one of the things we talk about is some of those upfront or advance costs and expenses, right? So one of those things is their escrow deposit. They're going to have to put that in right away. That's about 1% of the sales price. So on a $300,000 home, that's at least $3,000. They can ask for more. And then essentially your inspections, we tell people it's going to be at least $500, give or take, a few bucks, depending on what you need. If you need a 4-point wind mitigation, if you don't, all those things play a part. And you're going to have about $500 for your appraisal. And the inspection and the appraisal, those are always non-refundable. Mm-hmm. They never get that money back. Mm-mm. But what we tell people with regards to those things is the inspector, which is where you come in, Leo. Mm-hmm. This is your insurance policy to make sure you get a good home. Mm-hmm. That's what we tell them. And it is. And you're going to find stuff. It's not the point that you find stuff. We're looking for major ticket items. We're looking for safety features. Mm-hmm. We're looking for things that could cost you a lot of money on down the road. So you're going to find stuff. It's not the point of that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Oh, yeah.
And then the appraisal, this is the bank's insurance to make sure that they're not over lending on the home.
Right.
Right? So while I don't agree with the $4,000 price adjustment, because typically, you know, if the house is worth $328,900 or $325,000, that's not that much of a stretch for an appraiser to have it reach there. So a lot of people think it's like an exact science, but it's really not. It's really not. It's about the adjustments. And I saw things on there I could have picked apart, but at the end of the day, most appraisers are not going to change their report. And I've went in with pages of rebuttal that take me hours to prepare. And what we found is it's pretty rare. If we can get them to adjust it, usually it's by just a little bit. So it's not by much. And then one of the next things on the list, number 5, is price. So, you know, homeowners that typically sell their home on their own, they're going to generate $46,000 less than if they hire somebody like me to help lead them, guide them, protect them through the process, put together a listing budget, figure out if they have a listing budget, and then begin where to start.
Where does that statistic come from? That's a pretty exact number to just randomly
So
pull.
the National Association of Realtors, they do a home study every year. That's the average profile of a buyer and a seller. I have the current stuff from 2018. We're going to go over that. This number was actually from 2014. So I know the number is higher. I know that it is. But this was from the stat from 2014. So when we come back on Tampa Home Talk, we're going to run through the other 5 things on our list, are 10 reasons why to work with a realtor like me. And we might even have a surprise for you. We'll talk about that when we come back. Right after the break.
Surprise in that bag?
Maybe. All right, we'll be back.
Morning, welcome back. We were all arguing on behind the scenes on who would come back after the break, and looks like I pulled the short straw. You're listening to Tampa Home Talk with Katrina and Leo, and we have a special guest.
Hey, you weren't expecting me to.
Popped in.
Yeah, we were.
Is that why you were looking at
That's
me?
the look and the nod.
I was completely. You'd think this was my first day in radio.
Yeah.
I know, right? It looks like your first day in radio with how low that mic's hanging
Well,
there.
your setup here is a whole lot different than what we've got down there at the Beasley Radio Ranch in
What do you
St.
think
Pete.
about it?
It's really nice.
The Beasley Radio Ranch. I like it.
Yeah, this is super. Yeah, I heard it was nice.
A little bit bigger, right?
Yeah. Well, our engineers bragged to everybody about what a great studio you have here, and in thinking about that just shows how serious you are about what you're doing. Not just trying to compete with the radio execs. So, yeah, kudos. Congrats.
Yeah, and I don't want to compete with you guys. Like, I'm not even in your same space.
No.
We're just here to talk about our little radio
real
house
estate.
spot. Yeah,
Yeah, but don't get to stare at Pat through a wall, though. I mean,
we don't get to stare at Pat. That's why I wish you would, like, pop in on the Facebook live stream. But,
Hey, Pat, good to hear you there. Hey, I want to shout out to you, your neighbor down the street here at Big Apple Bagels.
Yeah, they'll appreciate that.
Because coming over here this morning gave me an excuse to stop there and grab some tasty treats. And I have not had Big Apple Bagels. If you're anywhere within about a 20-mile radius of Lando Lakes, Lutz area, that would be a first
right on
stop.
54.
Yeah, real convenient, easy to Katrina's office
Put that
here.
mic closer to your mouth, Katrina.
Got it, yeah. So were you listening on the way over and in and through, I'm sure, right?
I was for a minute. I was actually on a call, so I had to take a phone call for what turned out to be about 25 minutes for another client.
All right, shall we roll to number 6?
I think we should, because we're running low on time. So the next topic on the 10 reasons to list with a realtor happens to be time.
Time. That's pretty amazing. And this is something we talk about all the time. And the reason why is it's a full-time gig, right? Like, Leo, I'm not in this space part-time.
Even if you're just buying or selling your house and you have a team of people, you have a real estate attorney, you have a home inspector, you have a termite company, you have a realtor, you have a title company, you have all these people involved, it is still a part-time job just finding the house and project managing your own transaction. To take on the role of a realtor as well and do all the things that they do,
The list is long.
it better be your only job.
Well, I mean, let's put it to you this way. Like, to deliver stellar service, it takes a team of people like I have to make that happen. So they jump in, make sure all the logistics in order, make sure everything looks nice. Make sure you have flyers in your box. I mean, there's just so many things that have to happen just to plan and prepare to go on the market live.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know how FSBO, for sale by owner, people do it. I mean, when they have to show up to the house to let people in, when they have to do their open houses, when they have to post flyers around the neighborhood, lost dog, found house type things.
Well, I'm so glad you mentioned it because think about it. They're doing that in and around their work schedule, right? They have to. It can't be their full-time job. So then for the buyer, they're going to come if it's convenient for them.
You know,
right?
if there was only a system established for people to be able to put their home up and like display, and that other people could find it like a major listing service or something. If there was only something like that to tap into that they can't tap into because they're selling it themselves.
There are. I mean, so your exposure alone is going to get you the highest possible price. It just will, you know, but you got to take care of your buyer's agent too. There's so many companies out there now, you know, and I hate to list them by name, but they're all over the place, like Redfin, Purple Bricks, which started over in Europe, you know, and actually the billboard that I saw recently, literally, this should be a fun one, says Redfin will give you more than open door or something like that. Have you seen the billboard?
I have, yeah.
And we were talking about this in the earlier part of the show. Basically, it's like 9 to 12% in fees that they take. So there's no doubt about it. They probably will. But the other thing they don't talk about is they're still shortchanging the buyer's agent. Yeah. So there will be agents that skip your home. Like, why would they do something for less when they can? Because ultimately, there's two sides of the deal for a reason. The seller's stuff they have to do and the buyer stuff they have to do. So when you list with one of these 1% companies or whatever, or a discount broker of any sort, you have a listing agent on the other side that's literally throwing it in the MLS, sticking a lockbox on the door, maybe a sign is in the front yard, and they're calling it a day. They're really praying that another buyer agent like me will come bring a buyer and do all the work of both sides and sell that home. And, you know, agents like me, we know that. We know if we go under contract with this particular company, it's going to be double the amount of work to get it to the finish line. You know, and it's not that we don't do it. We do. I'm just telling you the truth behind what happens in our space that you wouldn't know if we didn't talk about it.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of paperwork to keep track of, too.
It is a lot of paperwork. And so that's number 7 on our list.
Oh, really? I'm not even looking at your list. I'm just kind of logically going through your conversation.
You know, here's the thing. It's a legal document. That's what we tell people. Whether it's a listing agreement, an agreement between the buyer and the seller, it's a legal document.
Do I get to give my favorite catchphrase now?
Shoot.
Not a lawyer.
Definitely not a lawyer. Here's the thing that you'll appreciate, though. Even though I'm not an attorney either, I understand these contracts very full well. So when the buyer or the seller has an attorney, if it's a real estate attorney and a good real estate attorney, I love it because they're very well versed in the contract too. They know what can happen, what can't. What's an agent like me's worst nightmare is when they bring in an attorney that's not a real estate attorney, or they bring in an attorney that's not well versed in the contracts. You know, they're going to try to read it and mark up the FAR bar. And the reality of it is we can't do that. We're not allowed to do it per the Florida Association of Realtors and the Florida Bar. So if you go rewriting the entire contract, guess what? Both realtors are going to say, I'm out. Good luck. You can pay the attorneys to write it, and you might end up paying a little bit more. And they're only looking at it from a legal perspective. They're not doing anything else that goes into it from the real estate side. So for me, I love working with a great real estate attorney because we know the contract inside and out. We're on the same page. There's many, many attorneys that refer to us directly for that very reason. We do understand the contract. We do know what we're doing, and we can get through that process with them.
Yeah, I mean, the paperwork aspect of it is just daunting. You show up, I've been in a closing before, you show up, they hand you a stack of 1,000 sheets of paper that you're supposed to read the day before, and if you have no one that, they give it to you the day before, which is crazy. But you got to just sit there and sign and sign and sign. Do you understand what you're signing? They tell you one sentence. It's like voting. They give you a one-sentence description of a 10,000-page bill, and you're like, oh, yes or no. But in this case, you don't get to say no. You just sign it. You just sign, and you just sign. And then eventually it ends, and they hand you a sheet of paper and say the property is yours or the property is no longer yours, and you're out the door.
In all of the closings you've been at, how many times have you seen a homeowner or a new homeowner, the buyer, actually read all the documents?
Less than 5 in 28 years. And what happens is the title agent will go, here's the documents. Go ahead and take them home and read them. Come back when you're ready to sign. And by the way, you can't change anything or you don't get the loan.
There you go.
That's
yeah,
just
I
how
mean,
it goes.
I've seen some buyers start the process of trying to read every document, and then they realize how thick the packet is,
Yeah.
and then they just give up.
Well, I think of it when we think of, you mentioned, it's like Congress. I mean, these guys or ladies that we elect go off to D.C. and they don't read the bills they're signing in many cases.
They don't. That's what's scary.
And we get mad at them for that, but yet
they do it anyway.
They do it anyway, and homeowners don't read. So that's why it is so important to have a professional.
I had a whole new appreciation for this, Mark, when I've entered into a real estate transaction with my husband. Prime example, right? Like, I don't want to read anything because I already know what all those documents sign. So I'm flying through that stack in like 10 minutes. And my husband's like, wait a minute, what are we doing? What am I signing? And I'm like, come on, dude. I'm not going to let you sign anything we're not supposed to be signing.
But you bring up a good point. In your situation where you're talking about Congress, they can say no. In this situation, you really can't say no. You've got this huge stack of papers, and I've seen people try and back out of deals at the closing table, and they can't back out.
They can. They can. They have the choice. That's the great thing about living here in the United States. You have the freedom of choice. You can walk away. You don't have to sign it. But the alternative, the consequence for that is you're not going to get the house if you don't have the cash, right? So you got to have the cash. He who has the gold makes the rules. It's just how it is.
Yep.
Lender, think about this. If you were lending $250,000 to someone, to me, Mark, if you were lending $250,000 to me, you would want to know that I'm going to repay you.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
That's what's in that paperwork.
Yep.
You would want to make sure that I'm taking care of that investment that you're lending all this money on.
Right.
The bank's perspective is the same thing. They just want to make sure you're going to take care of it. You're going to make your payments on time. You're not going to deed it to somebody else. I mean, there's 20 pages of legal language in the mortgage, and that's what it's telling you. You just follow the rules and you'll be fine.
But that's why it's so important to have a professional on your side.
Yeah, I mean, we just pay attention to those details. We know it. But I do have an appreciation for all the documents you have to sign, and I get it. The reality of it is we just can't change any of it. We just can't. So if you don't like the language or you don't like the stuff in there, save up and pay cash. Or do like Dave Ramsey tells you and get it paid off in,
and you don't have
4 to 7 years.
Right.
Then you don't have to worry about a lender. You'll get that satisfaction of mortgage signed, and then you're done.
Yeah, but you don't have a lender. You need to make sure you keep your insurance up to date and you have your insurance payments. Because I've seen people pay off their mortgage forgetting that part of their holdback in escrow is to pay for insurance, and then pay off their loan, and then their insurance lapses because of the insurance company no longer notifies the homeowner. They're just notifying the lender, who doesn't care because there's no mortgage, and then you end up without homeowner insurance.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've seen that happen.
What about CDDs?
Community
Well, it's in the
development.
taxes, so
Community development
that's right.
districts.
That's in
yeah,
your
taxes always get paid no matter what. Like
Yeah.
the taxes are going to get paid. The sad part is we've seen older people not pay the taxes, and then it gets so far behind. There's no mortgage, and then people scoop it up. It's just sad. So the 7th thing on our list or the 8th thing I should say, is knowledge of neighborhoods. So we know these neighborhoods inside out. So I'm that agent that I'm like, yeah, give me the street, and I know where I'm going. Just tell me what street you're on. I can find you. I've been in that neighborhood. I've sold stuff in there. So, not to mention leading into number 9, network of service providers. So we work with amazing people just like Leo and his team. And even though you're like me, Leo, you got a lot of people that are in the field doing a lot of these inspections. There have been times that I've said, hey, Leo, this is a really tough one. I kind of need you to go on this one, right? Like the last one that you and I did together was the hoarder house.
A hoarder house.
We hate hoarder houses. It's just.
Did you bring video with you?
No.
A lot of pictures, I think, of that one. So.
We have pictures. I hate hoarder houses. You just can't move around.
Yeah.
You can't get to what you need to. There's a lot of stuff we're going to miss just because it's covered in stacks of newspaper. And then after the buyer moves in, and we tell them it's a hoarder house, and we tell them it's going to be infested with pests, and we tell them there's going to be water damage, and we tell them all this, and then they get upset with, oh, you didn't put it in the report. We couldn't see it.
Right.
Here's the thing, though. I mean, usually in that type of situation, this is a prime example. In that scenario, the homeowner might get half of what they get if they fix it up and
the
rehab
hoarder house smells. All hoarder houses have a smell to them.
You're right.
How often do you see hoarder houses?
Very rarely now because I'm not doing as many home inspections.
Okay.
But back in the day, we probably get one a week.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of hoarder
more
houses.
common than anything.
I need to talk to you about carrying a video camera with you. I mean, you have your phone.
Yeah.
We need to get a live stream going on that.
Listen, our author number is 813-377-2775. You can call or text if you want information. If you need me or Leo, 813-377-2775. 813-377-2775. 25. When we come back, we're going to give the last tip, number 10, on reasons why you need to list with a realtor like me and how much more you make when we come back.
Good morning. Welcome back. You're listening to Tampa Home Talk. I'm your co-host, Leo Kane. I'm here with Katrina Madewell. We've gone through 9 reasons to list your property with a realtor. Number 10 is just, it kind of brings it all together.
I tell people we want to be your easy button, right? We'll just be your easy button.
We're at cease and desist coming from Staples.
Yeah, for sure. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's definitely their tagline. Pretty cool one, though, huh?
Yeah, I like they actually sell the buttons, too, which is kind of neat.
Do they really?
Yeah, they're gaudy and they're huge and they're overpriced. But, yeah, if you want one, it's a cool concept. I guess that's the way marketing works. You come up with something spiffy that people want to actually brand on themselves, and then they walk around as your billboard.
Yeah, those mottos are pretty awesome, right? Like ours, love where you live or we'll fix it. It's so true. With our 90-day love where you live guarantee, we're going to make sure you love where you live. And that goes into advice after closing. So that's number 10. So a good agent like me, we're not going to disappear after the sale's over. You can count on me to be here for people you need after. You know, many times people have questions. That's why I love having people like Mike on the show, right? Because we talk about the portability, the homestead exemption, many of these things that matter after you actually close on a transaction. So I don't think we've given out our number enough. If you're thinking about selling, you want to get some information, or you maybe are just looking to get a room by room review, we can do that and let you know how to get the most for your money. Our off-air number is 813-377-2775. Again, 813-377-2775. And you can call or text that number, 813-377-2775. So let's talk about the National Association of Realtors profile of a home buyer and a home seller.
Ooh.
I'm going to quiz you. I'm not going to show you. I'm like hiding my papers.
Profile.
So
I already didn't know the 4 types of buyers. Well, I kind of did, but I didn't.
No, you never heard it like that.
Never heard
right?
it like that.
So the typical buyer, how old do you think they were? This is stats from last year from the National Association of Realtors, or NAR. How old was the typical buyer?
Well, since most millennials live in their parents' basement, the typical buyer's got to be 35 or older.
46 years old year.
I knew it. The millennials are killing this statistic.
The median household income also rose for buyers. Any idea what that was?
I know the median household income in this area is like $60,000 a year.
This is National Association of Realtors stat.
Yes.
Profile of buyer and seller.
So nationally, we'll go with $55,000.
$91,600.
Really? Wow.
So people are making more money and they're a little bit older before they actually buy, which totally
that makes sense. I should have put
me.
the two together. The older people buying houses would have more money than the millennials.
It just surprises me, though. Really, it does. Because we've talked about oftentimes how if you just bought one home every 2 years and you did that over a period of 10 years,
you'd have a lot of debt.
Well, yeah, you would have debt, but what if you focused on paying it off, right? And then what if your tenant actually paid off?
If you could buy a house every other year and pay it off, you're making more than $91,000 a year.
For sure, agreed. But the difference is your tenant's paying your mortgage payment.
Okay, so I'm 1 for 2 on these questions. Keep going. All
right. So the typical home seller was how old?
Oh, the home seller?
Yep. How old was the home seller?
Oh, if the buyers are 47, and I'm going to say
46.
46.
No, the buyers were 46.
I'm going to say the typical home sellers are going to be like, I'll go with 55.
Did you look?
No, I didn't look. I just used logic.
55 years old. That's right.
They had to be near each other because if you're a buyer, you're also a seller, and if you're a seller, you're also a buyer.
How about their income?
For a seller?
Yep.
I'm going to think the sellers at 55, they're in the prime. So if it's 91,000 for the buyers, we're going to go 110,000 for the sellers.
98.8.
Yeah, I knew it was slightly higher.
Yep.
I'll give myself the win on that one.
So here's where we've really seen a shift as agents over the years, right? Because the old way people would do it, they would come into the office and then they would tell their agent what they wanted, look through an MLS book, and then the agent would pick it out. 55% of buyers actually start their home search online.
Of course. That low? I would expect it to be closer to 90%.
Yep, me too. I think the number is skewed, but that was their data. It said 55% of home buyers start their search online, and they are doing that before they even contact an agent.
I think that number is wrong. That has to be wrong.
It feels like it's wrong to me, but that was their number, and they do a really huge study on this. Really, really big study.
They ask a bunch of college kids.
So then 17%, actually contacted their agent first, which I think is so reverse. But it makes sense, right? You're looking at the house first, then you bring somebody in to help you. Mm-hmm. So recent home buyers, like out of all the homes that sold, 87% nationwide, everywhere, had a real estate agent like me to help them with the transaction.
That makes sense. I feel like we're now on Family Feud. We asked a panel of 100 people what they looked for in a realtor.
It's more than 100.
I know, just a Family Feud's 100 people.
It's more than 100. It's interesting, though. The whole thing has a bunch of information, including the snapshot of today's home buyer, snapshot of today's home seller, and NAR actually charges for the report. But I can get it for you for free. So if you want it, just call or text 813-377-2775. We'll hook you up, give you some information. We love helping our people. Like still, even 28 years into this space, Leo, I love working with our clients. One of the properties I went to yesterday, which we'll talk about some of our properties available here in the next hour. Maybe we'll start the hour off with that. But it's a lot in Bel Air Beach. Ooh. Literally 1 block from Gulf Boulevard. Love
it. Put a house there. Your view will be the ocean.
So that's going to be coming up on the market really soon.
Actually, your view would be the oceanfront property.
This one doesn't have a direct view of the Gulf, but it's like a walking distance.
That's nice.
If I had a view of the Gulf, it would be probably triple what it is.
Oh, of course, easily.
And it's interesting, too. We talk a lot of times about for sale by owners. We'll just touch on them since we have a few more minutes. Some of the things about them, they have so many problems that they don't even know they have, right? So that's part of the benefits of working through the details like this with somebody like me is we go through many, many things. One of those things nobody ever talks about is pre-screening who's actually in your house, right? So for sale by owners are so excited to have people come through. They don't know if the person coming is a legit buyer. They don't know if they have maybe an ulterior motive other than checking out the home. And some of these guys are so good. It's so subtle that you wouldn't even pay attention or know. And they could be there to steal jewelry, weapons, medicine. That's a big thing we talk about too.
Wow.
Putting medicine away before any open houses, making sure there's no access to any of that stuff. None of it's out for safety reasons,
that
right?
Makes sense.
Myself, other people being in their home. We want to make sure that it's a great experience. So again, our off-air number is 813-377-2775. If you want to get with myself or Leo, we can definitely hook you up, give you some information. One of my favorites, we don't talk about enough either, is pre-listing inspections.
I love those.
And we'll talk about that a little bit more in the next hour. We're going to be joined by Kimberly Bridges with the Flipped Room. She is our official staging partner for Tampa Home Talk. We work with her jointly on almost every single one of our properties. And we talk about how staging makes that shift from a home to a house.
Yeah.
So we're going to dive into a lot more of those details in the next hour. And I would say pre-listed inspection should be right in there too with the preparation to get ready for that first impression.
I'm excited. So we have to wait a whole 10 minutes now.
Yes. So stick around. Our off-air number is 813-377-2775. You can call or text 377-2775. And remember, love where you live. We're going to fix it. And welcome home. We'll be back. Stick around about 15 minutes.